Hello, this is Dr. Eric Bricker, and thank you for watching AHealthcareZ. Today's topic is Aon to buy Willis Towers Watson for $30 billion in stock. Now, this was first announced in the beginning of March of 2020, right when the coronavirus was exploding in America. And so frankly, this is huge news in the world of employee benefits and health insurance, but it was really overshadowed by COVID-19. So I think it's worthy for us to take a closer look at this, because this is a huge deal for employers and employees. Now, the merged company is going to be called Aon, and it's going to be an $80 billion company in terms of its estimated worth, combined worth on the stock market. Now, it's going to be about $20 billion a year in revenue, and this merger, or acquisition I should say, is going to finalize in the spring of 2021. So about a year, a little less than a year from now. Okay. Now, the largest other company in this space in terms of both, really, and I'm talking about in terms of employee benefits, right? So these are benefit consultants, mostly to the largest Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 companies, and they do smaller brokerages as well that roll up to that. And so their biggest competition is Marsh McLennan, which obviously owns Mercer, and which does the large corporations, but then also has the Marsh McLennan agencies as well. They've been buying small brokerages across the country and rolling them up under Marsh Mac. Now, Marsh McLennan is a $15 billion a year business. So this new combined company that's going to be called Aon now will actually be larger now than Marsh Mac. Okay, now as a result of the acquisition of Aon of Willis Towers Watson, there are not one but two shareholder lawsuits by the shareholders of Willis Towers Watson, because they said that in the financial projections that were done by Goldman Sachs, which was hired by Willis Towers Watson, that they did not disclose enough detail behind those financial projections for investors in Willis Towers Watson to see if they liked those projections or not, and if those were, a quote-unquote good value to them as shareholders to have Aon acquire them. So we'll see. I mean, these are relatively recent lawsuits, but I wanted to bring that to your attention. Now, what we have here is a massive consolidation in the benefit consulting space. And yes, they do P&C and other things as well, but we're just talking about this in regards to employee benefits and health insurance. Now, I'm going to walk you through the timeline of how these companies came together. Okay, so and many of you know this. There used to be a company called Towers Perrin, and it merged with Watson Wyatt Worldwide to become Towers Watson. Then and that was back in 2010. And just before then, a few years before then, Aon bought Hewitt and Associates, and it became Aon Hewitt. Okay, then fast forward, Willis buys Towers Watson, and it becomes Willis Towers Watson. And now Aon Hewitt, Aon drops the Hewitt name, and now Aon is buying Willis Towers Watson, and so now you have just Aon. So at one point you had 5 different companies that have all merged into one. And what does that mean? That's essentially a roll-up, and what that means for customers, in my opinion, it's bad, right? Anytime customers have less choice, it frequently is bad. Why is that? Because there's less choice. Think about the RFPs that these companies used to do for their employee benefits consultants, right? They could RFP Towers versus Watson Wyatt versus Aon versus Hewitt. Willis didn't really do, the very large employers, but they could at least RFP 4 companies, and those 4 companies would have to compete with each other in terms of price and service, et cetera, et cetera. Now, and Marsh McLennan. So it was 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 with Mercer. So those 5 companies are now down to 2. So you're going to RFP, and your RFP is essentially going to come down to Aon and Mercer. And yeah, you can have other folks in there too, but the point is for these very large employers, this is typically who they go with, and their choices within that RFP have gone down dramatically. So that means that they can charge higher prices, right? So now that it's just down to 2, they can charge higher prices, and because there's less choice for the customers, what oftentimes happens is it allows the companies that have consolidated, it allows them to just have more bad behavior, to not be as responsive. And the classic example of that is cable TV. Has anyone ever had a good experience with cable TV? I don't know, right? But there used to be a whole bunch of cable companies, and then they got rolled up into things like Comcast and a whole bunch of other companies. I mean, you can go through and you can see all the acquisitions of cable companies that Comcast did. And I'm not picking on Comcast. You could say that for other cable TV stations as well. But the point is, did consumers really benefit from the consolidation within cable, right? Was the service really that great, right? How long were you on hold for? How much did it cost every month? It was unreasonably expensive. And it's only recently with the internet and technology that people are dropping cable. We ourselves and our family just recently dropped cable completely. And we're just internet based now. So the point is that if you think about consolidation in the employee benefits world and you're an HR person or a CFO, then your world is starting to look a lot more like cable television. And that's the point I want to make today. And thank you for watching AHealthcareZ.